Hi, this is on Imagination, and this is like a little clip video I'm doing on narcissism. There's something I want to talk about here. And this is the first video of the official Triadic Healing Part 1 with a Radical Global Healing Plan. It is assumed at this point that you have completed the first 4 books of the reading list. If you have not, you should not be here. This is only for people who have completed the first 4 books of the reading list. That list is available down below. So I'm looking at the narcissist. Like this is something I love doing. I love going back and visiting this. For me, in my brain, it's consumption. I'm going to tell you right now, it is consumption. I don't like using the word narcissism. I really fucking hate it. It's so trendy. It's dirty at this point. I use the word consumption. Consumption means disintegration. And once you start to get more information and understand what integration disintegration is, you really start to see, oh wow, this is disintegration. It's consumption. Yeah, yes, it is. It becomes so fucking apparent. It's like, how can biologists not see this? Because they are lacking a massive information chain. An information chain is actually what you are building when you are studying any discipline. A discipline is actually an information chain. It's a logical chain of events or a logical chain of data that gets plugged into everything else. In biology, you learn how to integrate all of these logical information chains. But if something is not a known academic discipline, then they're not going to have the complete change. If a scientist is struggling with information, this is the reason why, is because they either A, are not integrating their chains, B, they do not see the connection between the different chains. God, it feels so good to talk to you like a person. This is the first time I'm talking to you the way I normally talk. And I'm like, I love intelligent people. I love educated people. This is what I needed. I become so angry when I have to all right. So you have basically an academic discipline is a logical data chain. It's a logical data chain. And once you get all the data chains complete, you need to integrate them. Biologists know this. This is all they do, is integrate all the data chains. Biology is like, it's one of the most top of all everything. To be a biologist is like, dude, because they take the physics, they take the math, they take the logic. They should be taking the logic. This is one of the logical chains they lack. They should be taking linguistics, another logical chain they lack. Some of them actually pick this up because you have to have it for taxonomy. So the biologists who study taxonomy have this one. I love these guys. I love them so much. I love biologists. I think biologists are my favorite people. So you should also have music, art, dance, theater, stage, painting, drawing. All of these are logical chain data. Every single one of them is a logical data chain. So once you have all of the logical data chains, you're supposed to integrate all of them to make one really big chain. And when you have that logical big chain, you have DNA. DNA is literally the logical chain of all of that. But if you do not have the complete all of the logical chain, then you're not going to be able to integrate it. Most people make the mistake of getting a logical chain from math and up to biology. And that is a flaw. You also require music all the way up to biology. Some biologists know this. Other biologists know the importance of theater, stage, linguistics, and logic. So they've also included that. When you also study the logical chains, you also realize that there is a precise order of operations. For instance, music is the first logical chain. Everything is built off of music. If you do not have music as your core logical chain, this thing is not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to have a flaw. So you need the ethical chain, you need the logical chain, you need the academic discipline chain, and then you need to integrate all of them into one massive chain. I have done that. When you do that, your brain gets really fucking big. It turns on, and then you can see more chains. More chains become visible as you integrate the main chain. Like a tree, exactly like a tree. You have a trunk. Your trunk, for the most part, is really shitty because you probably only have 2 of those chains, and they're probably really, really shitty. And you were probably not taught that you have to integrate those 2 chains. But there's like 14 chains here. So the more chains you have, the smarter you are. If you have them in the wrong order of operations, It's not going to work. So now let's step back for a minute and look at what the narcissist wants. Narcissism is a person who lacks these logical chains. They lack the order, they lack the comprehension, they lack everything about it. And when you lack these logical chains so much, you begin to devour the self. You literally begin to consume yourself because these logical chains are literally your DNA. That's kind of important. That's really important. That the reason why you are studying all the stuff you are studying is because it is literally your DNA. Now, if you have a partial code, your DNA is going to deteriorate, which is why you're aging. That's your DNA code deteriorating because you are missing part of your logical code. So whenever you study an academic discipline, you end up choosing which chain you want to add into your DNA. But there's a problem with that concept. You are choosing which one to exclude. You cannot exclude a logical chain from your DNA, but you have. So we're going to go through them. The first logical chain is music. Music theory. That is your first logical chain. Your second logical chain is going to be song and dance. This makes up the 3 parts of your first logical chain, music. Your next logical chain is going to be painting, drawing, and sculpting. Now, once you have all 3 of these things down, you have your second logical chain. The next one you're going to get is reading, writing, and arithmetic. And this is the only logical chain that your school gives you. So you probably have the third logical chain, and that is the only one you got. Now, here's the problem. Because you did not get the first logical chain, and because you did not get the second logical chain, your third logical chain now does not work. If you are just a musician, but you don't read books, you have 1 logical chain. If you only draw, paint, sculpt, and you have not done anything else, you are not going to have a solid, stable logical chain of the second ethic. You're not. Every one of these logical chains unlocks the ethical core. So the more logical chains you have, the more you can literally weave your DNA in accordance to the life pattern that you require. The less logical chains you have, the more incomplete your logical data is, the more incomplete your DNA is. As a result, you are not going to be okay. You're going to fall apart. You're going to disintegrate. The more of these logical chains you have, the more you integrate. The less of them you have, the more you disintegrate. When you disintegrate, you are actually undoing the life pattern. When you are undoing the life pattern, you have disintegration. The life pattern is logic. So if you are undoing the life pattern, you are literally frogging or unraveling your own DNA. So, a person with narcissism is a person with incomplete logical data codes. That is what's going on. If you have a complete logical code, you have love. You have logic. You know the truth, and you are standing at a place I like to call as the point of comprehension. If you do not have all of these logical chains, there is no way around it. You are not going to be here. Now, the immediate first thought that most people have when they get this information is, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be learning all of that information? Stop. Sit down, Roman, because we need to have a talk. Romans don't know anything about education. So they think you have to indulge and gorge on information via memory in order to learn anything. This is how a dumb man thinks education is, because the Roman Empire thinks this is how education is. And your society came from the Roman Empire. As a result, you have a Roman mindset when it comes to learning and education. Oh, well, you just got to gorge yourself and indulge. That is not learning, not even a little bit. In the ancient Greek culture, we knew about Plato's point. So when you take information in at Plato's point, it is equivalent to a seed. So This is the life pattern. The life pattern is I give you a seed, and that seed contains all of the code for whatever fruit I am holding. So if I'm holding an apple seed, that seed is the integrated summation of apple DNA. Okay? That is what a seed is. If I hand you a sperm, that is the integrated summation of human DNA. How did all of that data get condensed into a little seed? Have you ever wondered? Have you ever wondered how a sperm contains all of human DNA in a single microscopic sperm? Have you ever wondered how a seed can contain all of an apple tree's genetic code in a single tiny microscopic seed? This is integration mathematics. It's called integration. Integration is literally the growing and rotting or disintegration of logical code. That's all it is. It is literally logic itself. Logic is nothing but integration and disintegration. That is all it is. When you study the science of integration and disintegration, you realize that it matches truth, it matches love, it matches learning, it matches evolution, it matches creation, it matches propagation, it matches growth. And then you realize, oh, logic is all of those things, and each one of them is representative of literally a logical chain that composes the DNA that accumulates all of our knowledge. Plato's point is the seed of knowledge. It's a tiny amount. So when you are given a tiny amount of data, you have vast amounts of knowledge, exactly like a seed, which means you can study all the subjects that you need to study in about 10 years max. I'm pretty sure we can get this down to 2 years. But 10 years, and you should have all of the knowledge, not information, knowledge, big difference. You see, when you have it this way, what ends up happening is you walk away with common sense. Common sense is when you have logic integrated right into you so that you just know shit. That is literally logic integrated into your intuition. When you integrate logic into your intuition, it becomes common sense, which means if you study only a seed of logic, you'll be able to literally unravel the entire universe in a few minutes because it's logical to do so. And you can do this with literally every subject. If you understand something simply enough, then you understand it. If you don't understand something simply, then you do not know it enough. So now, when you look at what knowledge is, what the difference is between information and knowledge, what Plato's point is, what integration, disintegration is, what logic is, what all of this stuff is, now what you are looking at is 10 years, about 1 to 2 years per logical chain. Not even. I am sure it will take 6 months. Do you see, it took me about 2 years per logical chain, but that was without any guidance other than Plato humiliating the fuck out of me, breaking me down until I was like an obedient student. And then he taught me logic and learning for a year. And then I had the great books and I was on my own. So without any guidance from that point on, and with all of the trauma and all of the noisy know-nothings telling me what they think everything should and shouldn't be, it took me about 30 years to get all this knowledge. Now, once I figured out the mathematical code, I found the formula, I was able to follow the right formula over and over again. Yeah, I was like picking up things out. Okay, give me 3 months and I'll do this. I'll sit down and I'll study something, and in about 2 hours, I've got the summation of it. because I know where to find the seed. I know where to find the seed. Once you know where to find the seed, you got it. What I do with Radical Global Healing Plan is I've accumulated all the seeds, put it in a nice little jar and said, here you go. Which is why I tell people this should take you 3 to 2 years, 3 months to 2 years max. You should not be here longer than 2 years. 2 years to literally build up your entire wealth, get your entire business off the ground and be like a millionaire. I mean, that level. But if you are fighting your ego, you're going to be here longer. You've got to get rid of the ego if you want to. There's just no way. You've got to get your ego out. Your ego is the only thing stopping you. So if you are fine with throwing out your ego, surrendering yourself to the entire program and just doing it within 3 months to 2 years, it depends on where you are in your development, growth, educational level. The smarter you are, the faster it'll go. The more absolute passionate you are about logic, you'll fly through this. You'll fly through it if you're passionate about logic. So now I'm looking at, okay, we got the seeds. And once you find the seeds and you basically hand out Plato's point, you're fine. So once you get the accumulation of all of these logical chains and you learn how to integrate them, as soon as you do that, you've completed your DNA code. Now, oh my God, you'll feel fucking great. It's the most amazing thing in the world. Oh, look at that. I've completed my DNA code. Yes, you have your DNA code it's set. You're all good. So now you have the narcissist. The narcissist is the individual who values their ego more than truth. That's all it is. Everything else complicates it. A narcissist is someone who prioritizes ego over truth. There's a hierarchy. Truth is at the top. We all eat shit. Truth is at the top. Deal with it. And the ego, the narcissist, will say, no, I'm better than truth. And they'll put themselves higher. So now you've got a narcissist. That's it right there. Now you've got a narcissist. Now, the consequence of throwing away truth for your own ego is consumption. Consumption is literally when this code starts to deteriorate, because this code is pure logic, which is integration, which is growth. So the minute you become opinionated, you are officially a narcissist. You have shut the world off. You have abandoned logic and truth. And now you're going to just deteriorate and disintegrate until you are nothing. It's called apoptosis in cell mitosis. It's apoptosis. It causes cancer. It causes lupus. It causes degenerative diseases. It causes aging. It causes death. You have apoptosis. That's what's wrong with you. You have a form of apoptosis because you're arrogant. Extraordinary. Mother Nature is so fucking amazing. So another form of apoptosis, I like to call it consumption, because it's literally the self eating and devouring the self. So you are literally consuming from within. Now, there is a curse, quote unquote, of consumption. The curse of consumption is actually the curse of the Black Pearl. If you've watched the Pirates of the Caribbean with the curse of the Black Pearl, that is consumption. It means the more you possess, the more greed, the more you consume, the more greed. This is consumption. The problem is, for thousands of years, we have not known what causes it. What causes it is apoptosis. Apoptosis is caused by a breakdown of logical code for the DNA. And what causes that is a refusal to learn, an abandonment of logic, to the point where you start to disintegrate your own logical code right down to your fucking DNA. And there you have all your diseases, your aging, your ailments, your mental illnesses. Mental illness is one of the last stages, or the first stage. This is something I'm still trying to figure out. We're doing the whole, scientists and I are back and forth. They say that the physical apoptosis happens first, and I'm going, I believe that the mind is causing it first. I believe that the mind causes it first. Nope, I believe that the mind causes it first. And I believe, because the scientists are so focused on the physical, that they are not solving these problems. So the apoptosis process completely stops regulating itself because it's violated the third ethic, literally, because even your cells have to follow the ethics. Even your cells have to follow the ethics. And the third ethic, self-regulation, is the problem with apoptosis. Apoptosis occurs when the third ethic is violated by your cells on a cellular level. So if you mentally are violating the third ethic on a cellular level, you're going to be violating the third ethic. That's what I learned. That's when I went, oh, well, there you go. So basically, your ability to self-regulate mentally is now affecting you on a cellular level, which leads to apoptosis. So now you need to flush that out. You need to regulate. There's your first and your second ethic. So when a narcissist wants something, 100% of everything they want is for their ego. Nothing else. Nothing else. Whenever a narcissist wants something, they are only moving on behalf of their ego. Now, if you give them what they want, you have nurtured their ego, which means you have nurtured their narcissism, which means you have nurtured the problem. You've nurtured their consumption. They will continue to disintegrate. The minute you tell a narcissist no, they start learning and their disintegration stops. Now, suddenly they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to process it and deal with it, or they're going to lash out. And that's where you should be using the fourth ethic to keep yourself safe. So when you are looking at giving a narcissist what they want, this is where you run into severely dangerous territory of you nurturing their consumption. And our society is trained to give the narcissist what they want. That's all we do in our society is placate the narcissist. The biggest placation of narcissism that has ever existed in our entire country is the participation award. The participation award is 100% pure narcissism at work. The no man left behind concept. This is pure narcissism. The slow down because you're going too fast and I can't keep up. This is narcissism. It is the you need to grow. I'm not growing. You need to stop growing. So now it's a grow challenge. The narcissist says, I won't grow. You need to stop growing. And a whole lot of people said, okay, I will stop growing. So every time someone tells you you're going too fast, you need to wait up for other people. That's actually the narcissism saying, the people who have decided not to grow, you need to wait for them. You want me to sacrifice my growth for people who won't grow? And that's what it comes down to. They're asking you to sacrifice your growth for people who have chosen not to grow. And then it comes into the, well, they can't. Oh, yes, they can. They're narcissists. They can. They have been taught how to, and or they've been obstructed, and or they have an ego that says no, because egos don't let you grow. So they want their ego and they want the cake too. They want the ego and the reward. And we all said, okay, so now we have awarded the ego. Now you've got a problem. So now there's a side, because narcissists do nothing but create sides. That's all their brains are wired for. They have chosen not to grow. They also want the reward of no growth. So we invented the participation award. They didn't want to grow. So they removed the standard. That's why there's no standard, is because they didn't want to grow. So we said, okay, we lowered the bar. We dropped the bar down to garbage. So now everybody is garbage. So now you've got the ego calling more shots. And the more the ego and the narcissist call shots, the more we're all sitting here going, okay, whatever you need. So we are rewarding more and more the narcissist who refuses to grow. Well, we sacrifice our own growth. I feel like I'm the only one in the world who said, fuck that shit, I'm growing, no matter what. When you prioritize your growth, you are actually prioritizing truth, logic, and love. It is self-love on a pure, true form. It's absolutely beautiful. And the more you get into this, the more you dig down into this world, it's going to come down to, you're going to have the narcissists who want the ego and the reward of growth without the work of growth. And that's really what this comes down to. The rewards for growth is abundance, love, money, and resources. That is what you get for growth. You get magic. You get power. You get authority. You get all the fruits when you grow. All you have to do is grow, and then you will get the rewards. They're called the fruits of life. The problem is you've got to grow. That's the catch. But in order to grow, you have to give up your ego. Your ego is incompatible with growth. They're not going to be the same thing. So your ego is on one side and your growth is on the other. The narcissist is the person who's chosen ego and then cheats to get the reward. That's why they're cheaters. That's why they're liars. And then you've got people who are delusional, where they think they've got the reward and they wallow in their reward. And then when the reward dissolves in front of them and they go, I don't understand it. I thought I was healed. You're a narcissist. You prioritized ego above truth. So you never could determine if you ever were healed because you didn't have truth. You can't tell if you're healed until you have truth. You can't have truth until you give up your ego. Truth is only on the side of growth. So now it's about, and it's a spectrum. It is absolutely a spectrum. The first spectrum is, are you even looking in the right direction? Because if you're not, you are either looking away from truth, which is if you are looking toward truth, that's integration. If you are looking away from truth, that is disintegration. So integration or disintegration is going to tell you where you are in relative to truth. If you are looking away from truth, you are disintegrating. The direction you are facing is 100% contingent upon your focal point. Your focal point is your relativity to you. You don't know who you are without your focal point. So you've got your focal point and then you've got you. And your focal point is you in relativity to your focal point. So now the question is, what's your focal point? Most of you do not have a focal point of truth. Most of you have a focal point of your ego. That is what your focal point is. The other focal point you have is someone else's ego. So you either have someone else's ego or you have your ego. Most of you think, and this is the common denominator, when someone says, oh my God, they're a narcissist, it means that their ego is their focal point. But you can also have your ego as the focal point, and now you're the narcissist. But if you feel like someone else's ego is priority, well, now you're submissive. Now you've thrown away self-authority. But if you have self-authority and your ego is you're still a narcissist. Your ego is not your authority. Your ego is literally your downfall. This is what people tried to say when they said pride cometh before a fall. It's not pride. You used the wrong word. It's ego comes before a fall. Ego, not pride. Pride is not ego. Pride is self-esteem. Pride is self-esteem. And this is where narcissists have fucked up all these words to make sure you don't get your pride or your self-esteem, because then they can't control you. So they attacked your self-esteem by calling your self-esteem arrogance. And then they looped pride in with that. So pride and self-esteem became affiliated with arrogant. That way you would stay small enough to be abused. And you fell for it. So now you think self-esteem is arrogant. So you throw away pride, keeping you submissive and obedient. You fell for it. So now you've got someone's ego who's the center of your universe. When you finally get out of their ego, there's a good chance that you still have not rectified your problem with self-esteem. So instead you put your own ego in place of. Well, now you are a traditional third perspective who thinks you're the center of your own universe. Truth is the center of your universe. That is actually the proper focal point. So this is all what's going on with your back to the truth. Now you're only seeing delusion. So if your back is to the truth, you're looking at delusion. You're disintegrating. You have to turn around and look at truth. In order to look at truth, you need truth as the focal point. You need to have truth so hardwired into your brain as the focal point that there is no such thing as ego. Ironically, that's when you get pride and self-esteem. That is when you get pride and self-esteem. Arrogance is actually when you prioritize your ego over truth. That's fucking arrogant. When you think your ego is better than truth. That's arrogant. In order to pull that off, you have to be ignorant. You have to ignore knowledge, which is truth. Knowledge is pure truth. The more knowledge you have, the more truth you have. This is a real, so this is the first thing, is making sure you're facing truth. Which direction are you facing? Once you realize, oh, I'm facing truth, here's the integration. My focal point is now truth. No ego. I've got everything to learn. No opinion. You cannot have opinion if you prioritize truth. As soon as some dipshit says, well, that's my opinion. Well, you just threw truth right out the window. Thank you. You are an egotistical narcissist in denial. We're done. That's why when I hear the word opinion, I shut right down. Like, no, we're done. I don't talk to narcissists. I don't talk to narcissists. Opinions are for narcissists. Students don't have opinions because they prioritize truth, but they don't sugarcoat it. They call a duck because they've got truth. Everyone else is just in a delusion, which is why they target the words. So the very first thing you do when you cross over is you realize, oh, here's truth. I just had a massive epiphany, so give me a minute. I just oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I am the gateway of science. That's what this is. This is the gateway of science. Everything that I'm saying here, scientists already know. Scientists have already figured all this shit out. This is why they live like this. This is why they're prospering. This is why they're happy. This is why they jungalted your ass. This is the gateway of science. This is it right here. And there's this massive gap because there's been no cultivators. So people who are non-scientists have no idea how to come over here. You literally need a how-to science lesson. That's really what this is. It's how-to science. Now, I'm going to be blunt. Scientists are going to get magic here soon because they're the ones who have actually done the fucking work. They know. They're going through, I've been talking to my scientist friends, and they're sitting there going, yeah, okay, so magic is real. We now have the science for magic. And I'm going, yep, okay, here's the science for magic. This is cool. I can see where ontology and philosophy become arcana, and linguistics and logic steps into spell work. Linguistics and logic steps into spell work. So scientists are actually going to become magicians here soon, real ones. Everybody else is going to talk about what they think they know and do nothing. So this is the gateway. But you have not probably received any kind of science. You had no idea because you can't just wing science. The very first rule of science is the arts. You have to have an art foundation to have a science foundation. There's a reason why science is so much more advanced. It's not that it's advanced. That's hierarchical thinking. That's your narcissist brain working. It's really coming down to your skills. We're going to be getting into skills here very soon. We're getting closer. It really comes down to your skill level. This is all about your skill level. And this is where we're going to go totally RPG with this because there's no other way to do it. You've got to level up your skills. You've got certain skills. And if you do not level them up, you're not going to get any further. So now you've got a whole lot of people who have no idea how to measure their own knowledge. They don't even know what their focal point is, or their focal point has not been defined. They have no idea their ratio of stupid to learning. They are in a delusion and are lying to themselves because they are claiming that they've got X when in fact they're B. So you've got a lot of delusion and in denial. There's so much denial. And then you've got people who have no clue about the DNA or the logical chain. And you also have people who cannot tell the difference between skill development and learning. My brain, that one still, I still can't get over that one. Skill development is learning. So if you're not developing a skill, you're not learning. Like that to me is so fucking common sense. And it's one that, like, how can you miss that? I don't understand it. So skill development is learning. And there's a process to skill development. It's called pre-apprentice. And then you have apprentice. And then you have tradesman, master. After that level, you have philosopher. And then you have sage. And those are the 6 stages currently. There's more. I will let you know when I open the next one. There are currently 6 stages of skill mastery. Expert is anyone who is master or higher. So there is student, which is pre-apprentice, apprentice. No, I will not call pre-apprentice. A pre-apprentice is not a student. Most people are pre-apprentices, which is why they're stupid. So you are stupid if you're pre-apprentice. If you are a student, then you are an apprentice tradesman. If you are at master, philosopher, sage, you're an expert. And like I said, there's more after that point, but I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't know. In one of my skills, I'm a sage. So I'm going, oh, this is what this means. Oh, this is interesting. So that is literally your skill development. So when someone refers to you as stupid, it's referring to the fact that you're not even a student. That it's literally a skill stage. And unless you're a master, philosopher, sage, you should be a student. But if you've chosen to not be a student while also not be an expert, it means you don't value it. Now you don't value your own DNA logical chain. You're going to die. Like, okay, you have literally nourished your death. Stupid. That's how I see it. I'm sitting here looking at all the math, all the science, and I'm going, okay, so those who don't learn are literally nourishing their own death. Wow. Stupid. Okay. All right then. Understood. All right. So now that it's like they're stupid. Okay. So now let's look at the apprentice tradesman. The apprentice tradesman must be taught how to measure their knowledge, so they know they're apprentice or tradesman. Because now the apprentice and the tradesman, especially the tradesman, runs into the danger of thinking they are a master when they're a student. This happens a lot. So now, because the apprentice was never taught by their people how to measure their own skill level, when they became a tradesman, they thought that they were a master. So the tradesman thinks that, or the apprentice, well, no, the tradesman has mistaken tradesman for mastery. And what happens is when you become a tradesman, your conscious attempt shuts off and it becomes an intuition. So when you are doing skill development, what you are really doing is integrating your skill into your intuition. That is what you are doing. You are integrating your skill into your intuition. To do this in stage 1, you have to practice the skill. Now, at the tradesman level, your conscious awareness shuts off and it becomes your intuition. So now you intuitively do the skill. And this is where most tradesmen think, oh, I'm a master. No. What you are doing at the tradesman level is you are training proficiency. And that's all you are doing. So in the first apprentice stage, you are practicing and you are in the process of integrating the skill into your intuition. At tradesman level, it is integrated, but now you are working on your proficiency. You have not yet learned. You are in the process of learning still. This is still learning. You are learning the proficiency. You have not learned it yet. So you could be a tradesman for 40 years and still never be able to actually figure out what you're doing. You haven't learned. At the mastery level, you become consciously aware of it again. There is a point of sudden conscious awareness where you realize that you are doing something. You realize that there is a pattern to what you are doing, and then you reverse engineer it. If you cannot reverse engineer your intuition, you have not learned it enough. Once you reverse engineer it, then you can simplify it for others, which is why Einstein said, if you cannot explain something simply, you do not understand it enough because you're not a master. And this is the massive break between tradesman and master. So now you can start measuring your own stupid and genius. You think you're good at something? Explain it in 5 words or less. That's simple. If you think you're good at something, 5 words or less. How do you do it? If you cannot do that, you are a tradesman. If you can do that, if you can immediately sit back and reverse engineer it and go, I reverse engineer my intuition into academic discipline. It's because you understand it. Now you're a master. That begins the mastery stage. The mastery stage is all about simplifying it, cleaning it up. It's called the refinement stage. So now you find more efficient. See how we're out of proficient? Now we're efficient. So now we're in the efficiency stage. Now we're getting closer to where you can be a teacher. Because in order for you to teach, you have to be so efficient in the simplification of what you do that you can transfer it over at Plato's point. Now you are skilled. This is where your pride can begin safely. This is where your self-esteem should start. If you have not reached this point, you should not have any pride over your skill. You can, if you want to compare your progress, you can go, look how much I've progressed. Very good. But do not think that you are a master until. I remember this one time, my narcissistic ex was making chocolate candies for the first time. All he did was take someone else's candy and he melted it down and he put it in a mold. And he called himself a chocolatier. Yes, I know, right? Do you remember that day?
No.
Oh, yeah. He walked around the house claiming he was a chef because he knew how to melt down someone else's chocolate and put it into molds. Narcissism. Real chocolatiers take unprocessed, uncooked cocoa beans, or they might buy roasted cocoa beans, and then they make their chocolate. That's a chocolatier. A real chocolatier will grow it on their own goddamn plant. I was growing my own coffee beans. I was that level of I love coffee. I had a coffee tree. I was growing coffee. Yes, I had my own lemon tree at one point. So, whole nother level. When you are now measuring your skills, your skill development, your knowledge. By the way, this is knowledge. Knowledge is your skills. Your skills are your knowledge. And without your ability to measure this based off of a metric, a standard, and the truth that is clearly defined, you are not going to know how stupid or smart you are. You're not. So now, one of the first things you've got to learn before you even walk into a learning environment is you've got to learn how to learn. You have to learn what education is, what education is for, what education actually looks like. Before you can even touch education, you have to learn about education. There's a reason why Rome didn't teach it in any of your classes. It's because they weren't educators. They were warmongers. That's why you're all narcissists, because they can teach war very well. That's what they have accomplished in doing. That's why you have school shooters in your schools, is because they have successfully taught you war, not education. They know nothing about education. They have a degree in war. Nothing I hate more than a bunch of violent warmongers claiming they know education. It's insulting. Now, the purpose of education is to literally identify, integrate, and then master your logical chains back into your whole DNA. If your education is not about you, well, then what the fuck are you doing? I know that's opposite from everything you were taught when you were a child, but your education needs to be all about you finding your logical chains, putting them back together into an integrated whole so you can have a strong DNA, so you have a trunk of your tree, and now you can start following branches. Everything up to physics is mandatory, and it has to be done in the right order of operations. You must have at least these. Now, everything else from physics and on, the chemistry, that came on its own time and just filled itself in. Biology filled itself in. Ontology, I cannot comment because I am an ontologist and that is my passion, my forte, my everything. So I really cannot sit down and explain to people what ontology is in this lineup because I have a biased opinion. I am too biased. So I cannot have I cannot open my mouth without my biased bullshit coming out. So I cannot comment because I am too biased. That is what it looks like. An opinion is when you know you're biased and you flout it anyway. Why are you talking out of bias? Shut the fuck up. So on ontology, I'm going to have to sit that one out. I cannot comment. Chemistry, biology, they came. Law and order came. Parenting came to me. Teaching came to me. These all came after physics and in the order of operations in which I'm giving it to you here. Chemistry, biology, law and order came after parenting. It was teaching. Wait, which came first? It was teaching and then parenting. Teaching came first and then parenting. And then relationships. And then law and order. And then relationships again, like relationships part 2. And that was the order of operations that came through after that. And then arcana, arcana, then came arcana. And that's when I saw divination. That's when I saw the rest of it. And I went, oh, there's alchemy, there's arcana, there's magical creatures. And now I can see the rest of it coming. So after you get through relationships part 2, that is when you get the arcana. But chemistry, biology, they're here. I just didn't pursue them. That's what I'm saying is I did not pursue them. They just came to me. I did not pursue law and order. It came to me. I did not pursue teaching, parenting, relationships. I was just curious, like, where are they? Where are they? So I had my mind open to them. I was curious when they would fall into my lap, and they did. But I did not pursue them. I pursued everything up to physics, and I am not making a comment about ontology. So everything up to physics, I pursued. And everything according to Plato, everything according to Aristotle, everything according to Pythagoras matched that. And the 12 ethics matched it. Everything. Like right up to physics, it was fucking identical to everybody's curriculum, the 12 ethics, my stuff. And I'm going, all right, so up to physics it is. So there's the order of operations in which we go through the logical chain that creates and built on your DNA. So now the question comes down to, are you going to go the direction of chemistry? Are you going to go the direction of biology? And that's your tree. That's where your tree begins. From there on out, that's where your tree is going to take you. So everyone needs to be up to physics in that right order of operations along with the ethics. Like that is the mandatory foundation. Now, physics is the rule. Chemistry is how. Well, physics is how things move. Logic is why things move. Physics is how things move. Chemistry is what happens when things come together. It's literally recipe. It's when you start to do cocktails. Chemistry is when you start to put things together. But biology is when you fucking uber integrate everything. Biology is like pure integration. So chemistry is when you start to do one thing and one thing. You start to do compounds. That's what it is. Chemistry is compounded. That's really it. So you get simple, and then you get complex, and then you get compound, and then you get integrated. So integration is an advanced version of compound. So, and that's why you have to learn them in order, is because it's like, all right, here's all the components. So you're learning all the components. But by the time you get to chemistry, you're learning how to start to compound them. And by the time you get to biology, you're integrating them. And then after you've integrated them, well, that's when you start to pull on and add to the cocktail. That's when you start to draw in more. So you have to have the integrated compound of biology to even begin arcana. That's where this is. Before you even, and here's the other thing, you have to have the compound of biology before you can even begin teaching, parenting, doing relationships, or law and order. Now you see how fucking incompetent everyone is. Now, this is why I'm angry. This is it right here. Is because when I did the math and I put all this together, I went, wait a minute, we all have to be biologists before we should teach. We all need to be biologists before we parent. We all need to be biologists before we have relationships. We all need to have be biologists before we can do law and order. Oh, we all are violating the 12 ethics. Wow, what a bunch of fucking narcissists. Wow. The only ones here who've done it right so far are the biologists. And I just went, wow. So every time a psychologist brags to me about them being a psychologist, well, are you a biologist? Well, then you're nothing. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. Are you a biologist? No, well, then shut the fuck up. There's an order of operations in which you're supposed to integrate your logical chains in the right order of operations in order for them to actually function and work. And had you studied biology, you would know that. But you didn't. So now you're just an idiot. I was too. When I got to this part, I went, oh my fucking God, I had no fucking business being a parent at ethical age 4. Now this makes sense. That's when I started to understand that the ethical IQ is actually your age. Not your physical age. That's irrelevant. That's just, that's nothing. So suddenly I'm looking at the ethical IQ and I'm looking at it going, okay, so wait a minute. The ethical IQ, and by the way, just to give you an idea, at the 29th ethic, that is when teaching came to me. So you have to be ethically 29 years old before you can teach. 31 for parenting and relationships. And then I was 45 when I hit the second wave of relationship. And I'm going, yeah, this holy fucking shit. Wow, we are unethical as fuck. And biology came in. Biology has been seeping in. Like I said, it's biology hits and then you just keep compounding. So it's like a continuation of biology that just never ends after this point. And that is when at 44 and 45, that's when I saw Arcana. And I could see it coming. And I went, oh, that's where I need to get my shit together. So now I'm studying apoptosis. Now I'm studying cell mitosis. Now I'm studying biology and phys biology. I'm studying the brain and neuroscience because I got Arcana coming. And fuck you, I want to do it. So now I'm looking at all of this going, all right. All right. And what's beautiful, it's aligned with your ethical power. This is the most gorgeous thing of it all, is the academic disciplines come to you synchronized alongside your ethical power. So you're going to have your ethical power and you're going to have the knowledge all coming to you synchronized at the exact same time. So now you can measure your level of magic in relativity to your ethical power. So if you don't have the power to do X, you're not going to do it. And then because linguistics and logic leads to spell work and manifestation, now you have the ability to assess your linguists and logistics skills with your ability or your skill level at how well your spell work is, based upon your ethical power and your knowledge in linguistics and logic. I'm going to be, well, this is why manifestation and divination are my forte, is because I'm a linguist and a logician first. That's why. So my manifestation, my divination is through the fucking roof for that reason. Now, the next one that we're looking at is arcana, and that's the ontology. And the only way to get through that is by going through the philosophy and then the existentialism. So arcana is at the end of philosophy, but you have to get through like 4 stages of advanced philosophy to get to arcana. And then chemistry is where alchemy comes in. And I know I'm not going to be touching that. I am not an alchemist. I am not an alchemist. We'll not be touching that one. I will be doing that much, 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 much later. Now, biology is where we get into the magical creatures. Now, I want to be a mermaid. So that's going to all of a sudden put my chemistry up at a whole nother level with my magical comprehension. Okay, so that makes sense because biology. And there's one other. Manifestation, divination, arcane. See, and here's the other thing is there's no such thing as dark arts. You can't do this shit and have dark arts. You can't. There's no such thing as black magic. You'll disintegrate. That's it. You'll disintegrate. That's the ironic thing. That is the ironic thing. Voldemort cannot happen. You can't get that kind of power if you're disintegrating. You'll have consumption. He would have so much consumption. Like now I'm looking at something like Voldemort going, well, that's fucking illogical. There is no such thing as dark or black magic. There's no such thing as the dark arts. That's not fucking power. That's a delusion. The universe would never be so fucking stupid as to give anybody like that power. That's the most illogical. That is literally everyone who's worried about dark arts, that is their own stupid fear with consumption, projecting it out. Well, I'm unethical, therefore. No. You cannot have this power if you're unethical. You cannot have it. So it's one of the most beautiful things about the universe is like knowledge. Ego is immediately, well, to be blunt, Mother Nature will kill you with consumption before she allows you this power, which is why a lot of people are dying. This is it right here. It is because you won't give up the ego. Okay, well, then you're going to disintegrate because you are a toxic piece of society now because you have consumption. It is called resource partitioning. It's in biology. Human beings are literally a living organism, a single living organism. I call it Pando. We are a single living organism. And what we are experiencing right now is literally resource partitioning. That's why the middle class is shrinking, is because the poverty side is the stupid side, is the really dumb, ignorant, arrogant ego side, and it's disintegrating. While the abundant side is literally the healthy part of the plant, because we're biology. All of this is biology. So when you start to understand how society is literally just one single living organism, suddenly it's like, oh, fascinating, really fascinating. And you can tell who's got the right answers because they're the ones who are wealthy and flourishing. It would be the scientists. Yeah, it'd be the scientists. So it's extraordinary. It's absolutely fucking extraordinary. And there's, my God, I love the science community so fucking much. When you get over to the science world, the very first thing we do is we establish a metric. It's called a control group. That is what the Olympics are. It's the control group for the scientists. That's exactly what it is. The Olympics are just our control group where we set the standards. So now we have something that we can use a metric on. And okay, now we got the metric. So rule number 1 over here is linguistics and words, because that's how you communicate. And we can't afford to fuck up communication in a laboratory. It's a death sentence. So linguistics is rule number 1 over here. Words matter. The second thing is logic. Now, this is where, unfortunately, a lot of scientists are not studying logic because of the educational system. Now, as soon as a as soon as a scientist actually picks up logic, holy fucking shit, it's going to change their game. When doctors start studying logic, we're going to see a whole nother level of science. Math is just the abbreviation of logic. So math is actually logic part 2. That's what I like to call math. Logic part 2. Part 1 is logic itself. So 100% of all the techniques you learn in math are actually logic. The abbreviation process is the math part. So the problem solving and the actual techniques are logic, part 1. The abbreviations are part 2. You should be studying the technique before you study the abbreviation. And then you have physics that comes next. Now, this is where ontology then crept in, and then chemistry, and then biology, and then ontology again. So this is where ontology literally just kept weaving in and out. And ontology is dimension theory, time, and the abstract. That is what ontology is. And that leads to arcana. So, and that's pretty much what we're all doing over here in the science realm, is we each have our own logical strand and we're all focused on just our logical strand, but they integrate. And this is where we all need to, like, once you get physics, chemistry, biology, the whole thing just together. You immediately just, oh, this thing goes together. That's cool. And then you go, oh, those are the academic disciplines. So the academic disciplines are just that logical chain. Literally, it's a data chain built off of logic. The data chain is pure logic. And either it's integrating or it's disintegrating. It is not standing still. It cannot. It cannot stand still. So it's either integrating or disintegrating. When I think I was 8, when I said the words, if you are not growing, you are dying. And it is something I am still hardcore on to this day. I've never changed it. If you are not growing, you are dying. So you either have growth or you have death. That is your option, growth or death. There's nothing else. Are you growing a little bit or are you growing a lot of it? If you're not growing at all, then you have a perfect even Steven where you are barely maintaining equilibrium, or you're dying. Most people are just dying. And then you've got people who think they're growing while they're dying. Those are the really stupid. So you have people who think death is growth, and that's who I call the stupid. And then you have people who know they're dying. And then you have people who are in the process of learning how to grow. And then you have people who are growing. So once you understand where you are on this spectrum, this is going to be a huge, huge thing for you. This is going to be vast. This is like a life changer of, oh, am I dying? And here's the problem is a lot of people are going to realize that they're stupid when they thought they were learning. Like that's what you are so stupid that you have mistaken stupid for learning. That's how stupid you are. Like that's a level. There's a lot of people who are there. Is what they think is learning is actually just a severe, they're dying. So that's the first question. You either know you're dying or you know you're learning. You know you're growing. And then there's the people who are growing fast. And there it is. So you have stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you are in stage 1, you're an idiot. If you are in stage 2, you are fantastic. Great. Let's get you going this way. This is where you need to go. So I'm looking for people who either know they are dying or they know that they are, or they are trying to learn. So those are the 2 people that I'm looking for. Those are my people. I do not need people who are in stage 4. They do not need my help at all. They figured it all out on their own. So yeah, I'm looking for people who know they are dying. And I am looking for people who want to be sure. They want to be 100% sure they are growing. There it is. I am looking for the people who want to be 100% sure that they are growing. Those are my people. found you. That was hard. That was hard. So actually, I felt that click everything. I felt click and I went, whoa. And it just went click, 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 click. And the whole logical chain just sorted itself out in the right logic. And I went, I think I found my teaching spot. That's all I was doing, is I was triangulating my teaching spot this whole time. I needed to figure out exactly where I needed to teach from in relativity to you. But I had to figure out first where you were, and I had to do that in relativity to the truth. And when I did that, I measured all the different types of idiots. I went, okay, so there's the idiots who are so stupid that they think death is growing. Yep, we are there, people. We have people who think that dying is growing. That is how stupid they are. So yeah, they have actually mistaken death for growth. So, okay. So there's that level of stupid. And then there's the people who know they're dying. Those are my people, because they have no ego. They're set. They're like, yes, you are my people. And then we have people who want to be 100% sure that they are growing. They are so like, I got to make sure I'm growing. Those are my people. They're the ones who want guarantee that they are growing. I love these people. I need a name for these people. I know what name. I will call them discipulus. 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 That is their name. Discipulus. That's discipulus. I was looking for discipulus. Yes. And then I'd have people come in and I'm like, you're not discipulus. You're not discipulus. Discipulus. So when I came up with a name, I didn't come up with a name. I mean, the Greeks did. Discipulus means follower of a philosopher. It means student. That's what discipulus means. It means to be disciplined. To be disciplined. Those are my people. And when I put myself out here, one of the things that I ran into was a lot of people who came to me going, oh, look, I know all this shit. And I'm like, you don't even know you're dying. You think dying is growth. Go away. You're too stupid to be taught. Like, you got work to do. Go look at my pep talk. You need my pep talk. My pep talk is for those people. The people who want to be 100% sure that they're growing. Not the ones who know. They're the ones who like, can you please tell me if I'm growing? You are my people. If you are asking me, can you please tell me if I'm growing? Now you are my people. Can you please tell me if I am growing? God, that sounds so fucking good to me. That is music to my ears. That is my people. If you are coming at me with a question, can you please tell me if I am growing? You belong in my class. You belong in my class. That's it. There is no, I'm going through all the logical code now to see if there's any other alternative to that, and there isn't. Because everything keeps pointing back to that one. That I found the catalyst, guys. I found my student catalyst. There you are. Now, a person can know they're dying, but they want to grow. And that's when they come to see, can you please tell me how to grow? There you go. Can you please tell me how to grow? There you go. That is it right there. Which is a variation of tell me if I am growing. Do you want to grow? There you go. So yeah, this is it right here. That is the mindset you need to have coming into triadic healing. If you do not have this mindset, it's not going to work for you. This is the only mindset that is going to be compatible with triadic healing. Now, here's my problem. I don't want to call it problem. I'm going to call it a challenge. This is my challenge. This is my trial, actually, is I have not seen a common denominator among these people. I have seen no common denominator. It's amazing. It's amazing. Ego is the death of growth. I have no tolerance for it. I have no tolerance for it. And the very first clue that you are around an ego is when they drop the word opinion. Oh, we're done. That's ego. That's got ego written all over it. Nope, we are done. When you teach, you have to be relative to your student. You have to know where you are in relativity to the truth, and you have to know where they are. And you cannot have a wide variety of people in the classroom. You can't. You need one common denominator among all of your students in order to work with them. You need one common denominator. And if you do not have this one common denominator, why are you here? And a lot of people want to be in a place where they can just give their opinion. That's not a learning environment. The learning environment is a whole thing we're going to be talking about. And this is going out to parents, this is going out to teachers, and this is going out to you. The learning environment is vital to growth. This is all that this comes down to. Are you here to grow? Now, if you don't know the traits or the attributes to growth, then you're already at a disadvantage. This is not smart. So now we're going to build the learning environment. We're going to talk about what the learning environment looks like. We're going to dive deep into what the learning environment looks like. And the more you learn about what the learning environment actually looks like, the more you can guarantee, is this the optimum nourishing environment for growth? Because if learning is all about your growth and you growing right for your logical chain that is your DNA, then we want to make sure that you are in the optimum nourishing environment for your growth. Otherwise, this is equivalent to, I'm going to plant these strawberries. Let me get the best soil, the best conditions, the best ecology. You literally want the ecosystem of human propagation. Well, in order to have the ecosystem of human propagation, you've got to know some shit about the human. But I guarantee you, people do not know shit about the human. Look at you. Exhibit A. No, you guys do not know what the proper ecosystem for the human being is. Holy shit, do you guys not know this information? So, we need to cover the ecosystem for the human being. I feel like you guys are in a jar, and I'm like, look at the way this tadpole swims. We're going to be covering the environment of the human being. This is fucking exciting to me because I'm looking at you guys in a jar of water. And I'm like, wow, this is the ecosystem of the human being. I know what the ecosystem of the human being is because I created it for my children. And then I watched them go boing and they flourished. And I went, all right, I've got it figured out. My son's healed. My daughter's healed. They're turning into little geniuses. My daughter is starting to one-up me in my own work. And I'm like, all right, that's what we're talking about. Human propagation. So you need the optimum nourishing environment for growth in order to do this. So you need the ecosystem. So you need the human being's ecosystem. I am so excited. So excited. Oh, the ecosystem of the human being. Oh, now that's a topic I want to get into. The learning environment, the ecosystem. I love it. I loved studying ecosystems. That was a fucking challenge. An ecosystem is an environment with primed conditions for growth over X. So if you have a fish, you have to make sure that the fish gets its primed, nourishing environment for growth. And when you have a cat or a dog, same thing. You want to have the optimum nourishing environment. Plants have it, trees have it, humans have it. But no one has studied the actual optimum nourishing ecosystem for a human being. Not one of you. Well, the Greeks did. The Greeks had it all figured out. So the Greeks actually built ancient Greece based off of no. Let me tell you what the Greeks did, because those guys were fucking geniuses. They turned their entire society into an ecosystem for human propagation. That is what the ancient Greek civilization was. It was literally their fishbowl for the human being. They turned their entire fucking city into an ecosystem for human growth. That is what they did. Genius. They went, we have a society. We need an ecosystem. We could integrate these guys. And they went, oh yes, let's integrate these things. Yes, let's. Let's first define what the ecosystem of the human being is. Oh yes, let's. What are the attributes of the human being's optimum nourishing environment for growth? Let's go through this. So they accumulated it. I have not yet done this. It's in my brain. I know it. But to reverse engineer it from my intuition and put it out into the real world is a whole other topic. I'm really excited about this because then it's like, all right, this is it. And this is why. And this is the science behind our ecosystem. And if you had any half of a brain in your brain, half a brain in your head, then you would know that your society should be your ecosystem. The fact that most of you are dying from mental illness, ego, arrogance, narcissism, and stupidity tells me you have failed in this because you don't know that your society should be your ecosystem. That is the work of your war education. Very good job. You've mastered the skill of disintegration. So, the ancient Greeks didn't want to disintegrate. They wanted to integrate. So they built their entire society off of this. So I'm not going to be doing it here. I'm going to be doing it on my next video because I am just like, I want to relish in this and hypothesize and think before I break it down. I am so fucking excited. I'm probably going to do a full, that one is probably going to be on an imagination because I'm going to drop down the hypothesis first, and then I'm going to draw up all of the hypothesis. I'm going to bring in all of the attributes. I'm going to weigh it against the logic. I'm going to show you how I do this. That way you can see what the reversal of reverse engineering from intuition into logic, into materialization, into hypothesis. Not opinion, dumbasses. Hypothesis. Big difference. Big difference. Learn the difference between an hypothesis and an opinion, which is why I have a serious fucking problem with opinion. What the fuck are you doing? We do a hypothesis over here. An hypothesis, not a fucking opinion. So we then form an hypothesis, and then we put it through the checks and balances, and then we make sure the logical code adds up. Now, as soon as we get the right logical code, boop, the math will show up, and then boop, the physics will show up, and then boop, the chemistry will show up, and then boop, the biology will show up. By the time the biology shows up, that's when I go, okay, Mother Nature just said yes. When the biology shows up, game over. Fuck all humans, Mother Nature said. When the biology shows up, you know you got it right. There is no, you cannot get it right, or you cannot get it wrong and have biology present. It's not possible. It is not possible to have a mistake when biology shows up. This is why biologists almost never make mistakes. But the physicists do. The chemists, they're better. No, chemists, like I said, there's very, very few mistakes with chemistry. You can't afford mistakes in chemistry. You make mistake in chemistry, you die. Like, boom. You do not make mistakes in chemistry. Physicists can afford to make mistakes. Logicians. If you make a mistake as a logician, you really are not a good logician. That is a logical fallacy. You're not a logician. If you make mistakes, you're trying to be and you're failing. Mathematicians make mistakes all the time because their logic is missing. You see how this goes? By the time you get to biology, they know shit because they're cross-checking it against all of the other sciences. And they go, oh, yeah, this is right. But they need them to do their job so they can weave it in. So physicists say X. The biologist comes in and says, okay, that's accurate because it fits into the chain that we're building. Next, chemists go, hey, we got this. All right, thank you. Biologists take it. They weave it in. They go, yep, that's right. Next. So that's where we're at. That's integration. And then once you get the biological core integrated chain, you have more things that come in. And yep, okay, that aligns, that clicks right in. And by this time, the logical core chain is like this fucking big. And it's like, oh, yeah, this, by the way, is weaving universal logical code. Because then when you get advanced enough, you can actually see it before time. That's when you're thinking before time. And that's when you can start to hypothesize where everything fits and you can make the code. Now you can start using spell work to invent arcana. Manifestation. Really fucking amazing shit. which is what I mean when I say I write universal code. I'm doing spell work. But I'm like weaving the universe together. So it's fucking amazing shit. It's amazing fucking shit. It's on a level. So we are going to be reverse engineering the ecosystem of the human being, and then we're going to be matching it up to. Oh, I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. I love biology. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. And this is officially Triadic Healing Part 1. Yeah, this is officially Triadic Healing Part 1. I have a story version of this in Breaking Delusion. I have like I said, this is for my 160 plus. If you are not at 160, my books would be a great place to start. Broken and then Breaking Delusion. Breaking Delusion is fucking fantastic. If you were to combine Sophie's World with the first 3 books of the reading list, and then you add Broken to that, Broken and then Breaking Delusion, oh, you'll be here. You will be here. So the reading list alone is going to get you here to this point. And then you can pick this up and continue going. So Triadic Healing Part 1 has requirements before you get to this point. Now, yeah, and then that's just it. And the books are designed so that the books take you through here. I also have multiple classes that have been simplified so you can get the bigger picture, so you can start breaking it down, and then you'll be able to go through it. But we are officially at Triadic Healing Part 1. And the other thing is, the more you go through the healing process, the more you heal, the more you're going to be able to understand me, the more you're going to be able to follow this conversation. If you're struggling following this conversation, it's because you either A, are illogical, B, you have mental illness, so it's blocking you. 3, you have, well, I would say low IQ, but low IQ is mental illness and illogic. What would be the other reason? Illogic is mental illness. Let me think about that. Ego would get in your way. Logical code would get in your way. But again, that's ego, because your ego creates the shit logic. Ego is what creates your false logic. So what else is there? I feel like there is one more thing. Oh, you're emotional. Your emotional discipline is what's going to get in the way. Your emotional discipline. Your emotional discipline will get in your way. But if your emotional discipline is going off, it's because your ego is a problem. We're back to that again. So yeah, we're still in the why you need this, why the learning. And then once we get into the learning, we're going to break down all the different parts of it. But again, that's covered in Breaking Delusion. So you'll be able to understand the parts of your subconscious mind, how to maneuver all that jazz. And that is all available in my books already written out. So you are set. I have to make sure that everything is done in the exact proper order, because if I skip a step, it's not going to make sense. So I have to be so fucking thorough on this. But I've already done it in 4 other books. I've already done it in multiple courses, each with their own different angle. Triadic Healing Part 2 is done. That is completely done. So with Triadic Healing Part 1, that was, well, it was a deconstruction and then a reconstruction. So I'm at the part of the reconstruction where I'm like, all right, where's Plato's point? And when I got to Plato's point, I went, oh, story of the story is Plato's point. So that's where all of that began on August 1st, was story of the story. And then after story of the story, it's, okay, this is why we need education. Okay, now that you have why we need education, this is how to learn. So this is everything that was prior to that. Story of story, what education is, how we learn. And now learning environment. This is what my masters did to me. They broke me down with humiliation and they rubbed my nose into the garbage. I learned to submit to the lesson always. I learned that the truth is above me. And then I was just so fucking grateful after that point to be learning. And then it was learning how to always weigh in or measure yourself in relativity to the truth. Finding out when you're not looking at it, finding when your back is turned. That's how I got out of my trauma. I noticed that I was most traumatized when my back was turned to the truth. When I was on my lowest of suicide days, it was because my back was turned to the truth. Every time I found the truth, I called them hope threads. I did not know it then, but hope threads were just the truth. Hope threads. The truth is what kept me alive. the truth is the reason why I didn't commit suicide. So when I have dipshits telling me that their opinion is more important to the truth, for me, they're pushing on a very, very, very old topic with me. One where my life was literally on that line. That's how I know people who are mentally ill just want the truth. Is because they have so much fucking delusion, so much fucking opinion, so many stupid, noisy know-nothings, that the only thing that matters to people at that point is the truth. Because that's the only thing that they can trust, which is why it's called trust, truth. It's called morphology because of the words are the same. You trust the truth. You should not trust anything else. You should trust the truth. Trust your logic. Trust when your logic is sound. Trust sound logic. That will give you truth because it is purified truth. Once you purify logic, you get truth. Truth is just purified logic. So you can trust the truth. Truth is just purified logic. And when you get purified logic, it feels like love. So love is the feeling of purified truth, which is purified logic. That's why logic and love and truth are all the same thing. So, we're going to be covering the ecosystem next. Thank you so much. And may the truth always find you.